Two men, 7 centuries apart, half a world between them, and both standing in the same storm. The first one builds a wall. He pulls back to the one small room inside himself that the storm can't reach, bolts the door, and from behind it, he watches the wind take everything that was never nailed down. The second one does the opposite. He walks out into the current, and he stops fighting it. He lets the water take him where it's already going, and somehow doesn't drown. One built a fortress, one became water. And here's the strange part. Both of them found a calm that almost nothing could break. So which one was right? Hold on to that question, because the answer is stranger than picking a side. And by the end, I think it quietly rearranges how you handle your own storms. You know this storm. It's the part of you that's exhausted from holding everything together. The conversations you rehearse before they happen. The contingency plan you built for your contingency plan. The grip you keep on things that were never in your hands to begin with. How someone took what you said. How it's all going to turn out. What happens next? It's 2 in the morning and you're replaying one sentence you said at dinner, trying to steer a thought that's already finished forming inside someone else's head. Somewhere along the way you confused being responsible with being in control of the outcome. And the gap between those two, that's the exact place the dread lives. 2 of the calmest minds who ever lived stood in that gap. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, Lao Tzu, an old Chinese sage. They reached for completely opposite cures, and I want to walk you down both roads, Marcus's fortress, then Lao Tzu's river, show you exactly where they collide, and then the secret place they turn out to agree. There's one thing at the end you can use tonight. Start with Marcus. The Stoic move is to draw one ruthless line through your whole life. On one side, the handful of things that are actually yours, your judgment, your choices, what you do next. On the other side, everything else. Your body, your reputation, other people, the past, the result. Epictetus, the teacher the emperor read, put it bluntly. Some things are up to us, he said, and some are not. We control our opinions and our choices. We do not control our body, our property, our reputation, our position. And Epictetus didn't say this from a comfortable chair. He'd been born a slave. He walked with a permanent limp from where he'd been shackled. You can chain my leg, he said, but not even Zeus can chain my will. That's the whole Stoic claim in one sentence. They can have the leg, the will is mine. So the Stoic spends his whole effort on that one small territory and turns it into a fortress. Marcus called it that, almost exactly. A mind freed from its panics, he wrote, is an impenetrable fortress. There's no safer refuge anywhere. And the genius of it is that a fortress made of judgments can't be stormed from outside. No insult, no loss, no disaster can climb the wall. It can only be surrendered from the inside, by your own consent. How is the fortress taken? Epictetus asked. Not by iron or fire, but by judgments. Picture an archer. He can control his training, his bow, his aim, the smoothness of the release. But the instant the arrow leaves the string, a gust of wind, a bird, a shifting target, any of it can take the shot. Whether it hits is simply not his to own. So the Stoic pours himself into the draw, the aim, the release. And the moment the arrow's gone, he lets it go completely. Master your aim, release the result, build the fort. Now, keep one eye on that fortress, because there's something hidden inside it most people miss. I'll come back to it, because 4,000 miles away, Lao Tzu looks at the very same storm and reaches for the opposite tool. Don't build walls, he says, take them down. His word for it is wu wei. It usually gets translated non-action, which makes it sound like doing nothing on the sofa. And that's exactly wrong. Wu Wei means not forcing, not shoving against the grain of things. Alan Watts translated it best, plainly. Easy does it. Look for the way things already want to go, and go that way. The Tao does nothing, Lao Tzu says, and yet nothing is left undone. It's the difference between rowing against the river and rowing with it. Same arms, completely different life, and his master image for it is water. Nothing in the world, he says, is softer than water, and yet nothing is better at wearing down what's hard. The soft overcomes the hard. The yielding outlasts the rigid. You can see it in a single winter night. Snow falls on a willow and on a pine. The willow's branches are supple, they bend under the weight, the snow slides off, and they spring back up, fine in the morning. The pine holds itself stiff and proud, refuses to bend, and somewhere in the dark you hear the crack. The branch that wouldn't give is the branch that breaks. The stiff and unbending is the disciple of death, Lao Tzu wrote. The soft and yielding is the disciple of life. Don't be the wall the storm breaks against. Be the water it can't get hold of. There's an old Taoist story that makes this almost physical. Confucius is standing at the foot of an enormous waterfall. Water crashing down so violently that no fish, no creature, can live in it. And he sees an old man dive straight in. Confucius is horrified. He's sure the man means to end his life, and sends his students running along the bank to pull out the body. But a little way downstream, the old man simply walks out of the water, dripping, humming a tune, completely unhurt. How? Confucius asks. What's your secret? What technique? And the old man says, I have no technique. I go down with the swirls and I come up with the eddies. I follow the way the water goes, and I never think about myself. He didn't beat the river. He didn't surrender to the river in the sense of going limp and sinking, either. He read it. He joined it. He put himself exactly where it was already going, and it carried him through the place that kills everyone who fights it. So now look at our two men, side by side. Marcus says, seize control of yourself, build the wall, master your judgments, discipline, vigilance, an inner fortress nothing can breach. Lao Tzu says, stop controlling. Take the wall down. Be water. Soften. Yield. Follow the grain. One armors up, the other lets go. One is all effort. The other is all ease. They sound like enemies. Pick a side, and you'd think you have to become either the soldier or the swimmer. Except, that's where it gets interesting. Because if you actually walk all the way into each man's cure, past the slogan, into the engine, they cross over. They become each other. Here's the thing hidden inside the fortress. Look again at what the Stoic actually keeps. One thing. Your response. And look at what he hands over in exchange. Literally everything else. Your body, your name, your plans, the result, the whole rest of the universe. The fortress isn't built by seizing the world. It's built by releasing it. All of it, but one room. And the Stoics knew this was the heart of it. There's a line they recited, almost like a prayer. Epictetus quoted it all his life. Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate. Wherever you've ordained, I will follow, unflinching. Seneca said it even more nakedly. I am not God's slave, he wrote. I am his follower. A good man's whole job is to offer himself to fate. That is not the language of control. That is the deepest surrender a person can make, just wearing armor. The Stoics' control is a sliver of control wrapped around an ocean of letting go. Now turn it around and look at what's hidden inside the river. The swimmer in the waterfall isn't passive. Go back to him. He's reading every swirl, finding every eddy, placing his body with absolute precision in the one path that lives. That's not drifting. That's mastery so complete it looks like ease. There's another Taoist figure, a cook carving an ox, whose blade never dulls because he never hacks at bone. He glides through the natural gaps, follows the seams that are already there. He's in total command. He's just in command with the material instead of against it. The Taoist didn't abandon control. He moved it. He took it off the outcome and put it on the aim, off the river and onto the oar. And then Lao Tzu says the line that gives the whole game away. The line that could have come straight out of Marcus's journal. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. The man who told you to surrender everything is telling you to master yourself, just like the emperor. So watch what just happened. The Stoic who preached control turns out to be mostly surrendering. The Taoist who preached surrender turns out to be mostly in control. They didn't end up on opposite mountains. They climbed the same mountain from opposite sides and met at the top. Because underneath, both men are doing the exact same move. They draw a line between what is theirs and what isn't, and then they pour everything into their side of it and let the rest go. Marcus calls your side your judgment. Lao Tzu calls the rest the river. It's one move, said in two languages. The Stoics had a small, brutal image for it. Imagine a dog leashed to a moving cart. The cart is going where the cart is going. That part is decided. The dog gets one choice, and only one. He can trot along easy, slacken the leash, sniffing the road, enjoying the ride the cart was taking him on anyway. Or he can dig in, brace, and refuse, and get dragged, choking the whole way there. Same cart, same destination, two completely different journeys. The cart is everything you don't control. The leash is reality. And the choice to run easy instead of being dragged. That, and only that, is the oar in your hands. Marcus built a fortress. Lao Tzu tore down the walls. They ended up in the same place. Now, right here, something in you might object. Fine. So I just let go. Stop trying. Accept everything and do nothing. No. And both of these men would stop you hard at that door. Because that's not surrender. That's collapse. And it's the most common way people get this wrong. Wu Wei is not laziness. The swimmer is a master. The cook is a master. Easy does it is the hardest one skill there is. It's what's left after you've learned the grain of things so well, you stop fighting it. And the Stoics? They were the least passive people imaginable. General, statesman, and emperor. Marcus didn't write his great book on acceptance in a quiet garden. He wrote most of it at night, in a military tent, on the front line of a brutal war, with a plague tearing through his empire, by lamplight, amid the clang of weapons. One surviving entry is even headed "In the Country of the Quadi," written from the front itself. That's the man telling you to release what you can't control. Not so he could do nothing, so he could stop bleeding his strength into the wind and pour all of it into the work that was actually his. Surrender isn't going limp. It's where you stop wasting force on the river, so you can finally pull, with everything you have, on the oar. And I have to be honest with you about one real place these two part ways, because they're not the same philosophy, and pretending they are would cheat you. The Stoic gets to his calm through relentless effort. He watches his own mind like a guard on a wall, catching every judgment, interrogating every reaction, never fully relaxing the attention. Peace, for him, is something you work constantly. The Taoist thinks that very watching is the trap. The mind trying to police the mind, he'd say that's just more noise, more forcing. There's a tiny Taoist story for it. A centipede walks along perfectly happily on its 100 legs, until a toad asks, which leg moves first? The centipede stops to think about it, and can't walk at all. It lies in the ditch, tangled, paralyzed by watching itself. So the Stoic polishes the self into something disciplined and sharp. The Taoist wants you to drop the polishing entirely, to fall back into a kind of natural simplicity from before all the effort. Effortful mastery, or effortless return. That's a real difference, and you don't have to solve it tonight. Because the move underneath both, the one you can actually use, is the same. So here's the one thing, and you can do it with whatever is gripping you right now. Take the worry, the situation, the thing you've been white-knuckling, and draw the line straight through the middle of it. On one side, write only what is genuinely yours, your next action, your effort, your aim, how you respond. On the other side, everything else, the outcome, the timing, what they decide, how it lands, the river. Now pour yourself, completely, into the first column, and take your hands off the second. The whole practice fits in one question you can ask yourself anytime the dread rises. Am I gripping the oar or the river? You can row with everything you've got. Train, choose the bow, aim, release the arrow with all your skill. And then, the second it leaves the string, let the wind be the wind. So, back to our two men in the storm. One behind his walls, one out in the current. For most of your life, they'd have looked like a choice you have to make. Be the soldier, or be the swimmer. Control, or surrender. But now you can see what they're actually doing. The wall and the river are two pictures of one move. Keep what's yours, release what isn't. The emperor said it with discipline. The old sage said it with water. Control the oar, surrender the river. The next time you feel yourself bracing against the whole world at 2 a.m, you won't have to pick a side. You'll just find the line. Pull hard on your half of it. And let the river be the river. That isn't two philosophies. It's one calm, said twice.